Okay, you guys, this is kind of a long video, but that's okay because it's going to be worth it. It's all about finding perimeter and area. I will go through multiple shapes. In fact, you can get a whiteboard and follow along with me if you want. But I do suggest watching this. It is very important just to have a refresher. So I'm going to draw some shapes, and there's of course no making fun of my shapes. I do not have a ruler, but let's pretend that first one is a square. And the next one is a rectangle. This one could be a parallelogram, or I could have an even more slant parallelogram. So one of them could be a rhombus. But when I'm finding the perimeter and area, these four shapes have a lot in common. So my area for these four will be base multiplied by height. We've heard that as length multiplied by width. It's going to give me the same answer. Now, this is where things are also fun. With perimeter, all of these have four sides. In fact, they have congruent sides. Everyone should say the word congruent. Congruent. I just pretended that you said it too. But even if you didn't, that's okay. So the perimeter is that distance around. Area, inside, perimeter, distance around. When I'm doing the perimeter, I have to add all of the sides together. Think of it like a fence. Even if your fence is in the shape of a rhombus, that's okay, because you're still going to add the sides. Maybe it's in the shape of a very slanted parallelogram. Hey, even better. There is nothing wrong with that. The area, no matter how large or small, will be the area inside of the fence. So let's say I have a rectangle. It has a length of 7 inches and a height of 5 inches. Or I could say width. I could also say base. I went ahead and labeled the other two sides because I know they're congruent. They are the same. So to find the perimeter, I would add the sides up. I would say 5 plus 7 plus 5 plus 7. Now I know 5 plus 5 is 10. 7 plus 7 is 14. So my perimeter is equal to 24 inches. It is not squared. It is just inches. It's because I added all the way around. Now, if I wanted to find the area, I'm going to use my base multiplied by my height. I'm going to label them. B for base, H for height. So that 7 is my base. It's 7 multiplied by 5, which is equal to 35 inches squared. If I cut that shape into 7 columns and 5 rows, I could count 35 squares. That's how that area works. Think of grid paper just like that. Now I have another shape. Ooh, this one's all slanted. So it's a parallelogram. Now I'm also putting a line in here for the height. Ooh, things are getting scary because I'm including another number. The height is 5 centimeters. The base is 10 centimeters. And the side length is 11 centimeters. Notice the height and the side length are not the same. To find the perimeter, I'm going to add the 10 and the 11 together, and I could multiply that by 2. I could take that and find a sum. Or I could multiply 10 by 2 and 11 by 2 and add those products together. Notice I'm not using the 5. I am not. That is the height. I will not touch that until area. So it ends up being 20 plus 22, which is equal to 42 centimeters. Again, distance around. The area, I would multiply 10 and 5. I'm finding the product of 10 and 5. Now, I'm going to box this. Why? Because I want to make sure that my 10 and my 5 does not include the 11. Like I repeat, does not include the 11. That is a side length. And I'm boxing around. So I'm reminding myself that 10 multiplied by 5, it actually is the amount inside. So that's a good reminder for me. Now I have another shape. Ooh, let's see what Miss Billman will draw. In pen. Oh my gosh, I always say don't use any pen in math, but that's okay. In this case, I am. Oh, we're getting fancy. Now I've given you an area. The area and what? They're two side lengths. They're the same thing. So this is a rhombus, or kind of like a slanted square. So the area I was given is 64 inches squared. Okay, I can work with this. Now I'm going to be asking myself, what multiplied by itself gives me 64? I could also use a multiplication chart if I wanted. Something multiplied by itself is 64. It's 8. So each side length must be 8. When I'm given the area, I have to ask myself questions like that. What is a number that I can multiply with another to get a product that is this specific amount? So we're moving on to everyone's favorite triangles. Again, we're going to pretend that was like the greatest right triangle you've ever seen. Yeah, oh well. So when I'm working with triangles, they have 3 sides. They do not have 4 sides. They have 3 sides, and they'll have a base, they'll have a height, and then they'll have a side length. So our perimeter is the sum of 4, 8, and 6. Right? I'm just adding those up. That's pretty straightforward. It's the distance around. Maybe you're making a garden and you want to know how much lumber to make the outside, or lumber to buy to make the outside. That's a great way to find the perimeter. In this case, it's 18 inches. To find the area, I must do base multiplied by height divided by 2. I divide it by 2 because it is half of that of a quadrilateral. So it's 4 multiplied by 6 divided by 2, which is 24 divided by 2, which is equal to 12 inches squared. If I took a square piece of paper and folded it on the diagonal, I would have half. So that dividing by 2 is just like finding the area of a triangle. I'm only finding half of it. Let's look at another example. Okay, so not a right triangle, but it is still a triangle. And I, of course, will have to label the height. Well, obvious, because that's what we need. And I'm going to label the 90-degree angle. And our base is 9 centimeters. Our height is 4 centimeters. And I do want to find the area. Now, I don't need the other side lengths. I do not need them. So I can use just what I have. So 9 multiplied by 4 divided by 2. That is equal to 36 divided by 2, which is equal to 18 centimeters squared. I square it because it is multiplying 2 lengths by each other. When we get to volume, it's going to be cubed. So we're going to keep that in mind. Oh, so now we have a tiny triangle. This will be like an acute triangle. I'm labeling my height. If you notice, it's on the outside. Oof. Okay, we can make this work. The height is labeled on the outside because it is so small, but that's okay. My height is 10 centimeters. My base, notice where that 90-degree angle is, my base is 2 centimeters. So base multiplied by height divided by 2. That is going to be 2 multiplied by 10 divided by 2, which is like saying 20 divided by 2, which is equal to 10 centimeters squared. Now, triangles are our friend, and we need them for when we move to other shapes. So don't give up now. Oh, now I have a missing height. Now I was given a base of 8 and an area of 24 inches squared. Now my first thought is, well, it's 3. It has to be 3, right? Because 8 multiplied by 3 is 24. Well, go back to that formula. A, or area, is equal to B, base, multiplied by H, height, divided by 2. If I did 3, I would get 24, yay, but I'd have to divide it by 2, and that's going to give me 12. So that's a no. It does not work. So I have to ask myself, when I'm really looking at that 24, the question I'm going through my mind, what number can I multiply to double this? Now, it sounds really weird because, you're given a number. You want to hit 24. But because we have to divide by 2, we absolutely have to think of getting to a number that doubles. So I know if I want to get to 48, I'm going to multiply by 6. It's the same thing that I felt really confident with that 8 multiplied by 3. It did work, but it didn't give me the exact number. It gave me the 24, but I couldn't divide by 2. So I can think double that 3. 8 multiplied by 6 is 48 divided by 2, which gives me an answer of 24 inches squared. Let's look at another example. Another triangle, because they're fun. Well, some people think they're fun. I do. So I have my 90-degree angle labeled with my height. I'm going to label some sides, and we're going to try and solve. So I have 10 as my base, 16 as a side length, and 8 as a side length. So what is my area? I was just given 3 numbers. Don't just go, oh, it's 8 multiplied by 10, and it has to be something. No, I'm going to be given an area of 50 centimeters squared. I do know 10 multiplied by 5 is 50. Well, that is correct. I'm not saying that's wrong, but in this case, it is. Because if I did that, I would have to divide it by 2. So I can't take that that 5 that I had on my mind, and I can double it. I can say it's going to be 10. So 10 multiplied by 10 is divided by 2 equals 50. If I said that backwards, I do apologize, but please watch this video and remind yourself of all the formulas. You got this.